right now on 5 on your side at 10.
After a dry and calm Saturday, we're going to send Sunday into a little bit more of a wet pattern. This severe weather threat off to our southwest. What that means as we're on the tail edge of it and when we can expect storms in our area.
A multi-billion-dollar Boeing deal hitting St. Louis.
Thousands and thousands of jobs, billions and billions, hundreds of billions of investment. It's a big deal.
Why local leaders say this could make St. Louis a defense tech hub. But first, a local radio legend taken too soon.
It's still setting in and not real, and I think the whole community wants a do-over.
Friends remember Brian McKenna for his lifelong impact on St. Louis, an impact that goes beyond the radio waves.
Tonight, words of love and support continue to pour in for St. Louis radio personality Brian McKenna, killed in a crash overnight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Cook. Robert Townsend has the night off. Police say the crash happened in South City on Hampton Avenue around 1 a.m. Saturday. McKenna was apparently crossing the street when he was hit and killed. Our Annie Krall spoke to some of McKenna's friends about what an impact he made on them and on South City. Annie, what are you seeing?
Well, Paul, I know you knew Brian well, and friends of McKenna tell me he lived in the Nottingham Avenue area. Flowers and even a small memorial already popping up there tonight. After years battling cancer, those who knew him best say it's gut-wrenching to lose him in this way. As of now, we know the driver wasn't injured and is cooperating with officers. St. Louis Metro Police say a car was heading south on Hampton Avenue as a man crossed the street mid-block between Nottingham and Murdoch. That man was Brian McKenna.
Nobody wants it to be real. I don't know what else to say. I'm shaken up right now, so it's very difficult.
South St. Louis native Jeff Rick lived with 61-year-old McKenna on Nottingham Avenue for about 8 years, starting in 2007.
And we're such close friends, and he's a little bit older than me. He was actually really good at giving advice, and we had a lot of long walks and talks. We went through a lot of things together. He would say breakups and shakeups and all this funny stuff. He's always had a very good sense of humor.
The sharp-witted commentator spent decades being a cornerstone of the St. Louis sports scene. Besides being a previous regular guest on Channel 5 Sports Plus, he was a radio host at KFNS 590 The Fan, also emceeing a wide range of nonprofit events, including organizations to help people and families dealing with cancer, which was a personal passion.
And he beat the cancer. The community, reached out and helped him immensely. He got through that, and to lose him like this is just tragic.
Friends telling us he was the most famous, unfamous person they ever met.
I know medicine made him sick quite often, but his attitude and his strong, he's such an extrovert. He just had a way that it was never woe is me. He was just really, really brave the way he fought the disease and really spoke about it.
Jim Uxa was friends with McKenna for about 30 years, saying he was so beloved he was asked to be the Dogtown St. Patrick's Day Parade Grand Marshal in 2018.
Obviously, being up with a huge Irish family with the last name McKenna, Dogtown and the St. Patty's Day was like Christmas for him.
The last conversation Uxa had with McKenna was less than a week ago on McKenna's balcony. He signed off with his signature tag, "Your vibe attracts your tribe."
He knew so many, the droves of people he knew. Like I said, he never met a stranger, and it's amazing how he truly felt engaged when you talked to him. Like everything was blocked out, and he talked to you about you, and he was definitely one of a kind.
And McKenna's friends emphasizing that it has been a very sad day for South St. Louis, as well as those who knew the sportscaster across the country. They tell me any funeral or service details are still in the works. Paul?
Okay, thank you, Annie. I feel blessed to have known him. So much love for Brian McKenna. All right, we're going to look at a little bit of what's happening out there now. Rain and thunderstorms expected to move through our area as we take a live look downtown. We've got meteorologist Gary Frank here with a look at our weather forecast.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. As we're trying to find the happy medium between finally getting some rain and staying away from more severe weather. And I think we're going to do so into the overnight hours as we continue to look at quiet conditions at the arts. The wind has picked up a little bit, and that's going to be the case tomorrow. I'm sorry in advance. I know everybody's coming up to me talking about how it was nice to have a calm day. Well, the wind has picked up a little bit. It's now out of the southeast at 13 miles an hour. We're still in the mid-50s, but it's still not very humid. Notice that, and that's one of the things that's important to note. One of the reasons we don't have a huge severe weather threat in our region specifically. You'll notice that all this that's showing up right now is evaporating a few thousand feet above the surface. So we see that cloud cover and moisture above the surface, but it's not at the surface. Where it is at the surface is one lone area with some larger hail north of Bentonville and really in southwest Missouri. That's the core of where this severe weather threat is. And on the leading edge of this, we're starting to see a moisture surge in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. That's what happens at this time of the night. And that's what we're going to see right now from Bolivar to Lebanon as well, up I-44. That's where the focal point of rain will settle in. But like I said, this is the core of severe weather, so if you're worried about this into the overnight hours, don't worry about that. The only reason that any spot is outlined, we may see a little bit of larger hail in the areas off to the west as this stuff dies down. Temps in the upper 40s, rain settles in overnight, and that's what we'll talk about specifically as we track this rain amounts and how much of your Sunday is dry.
All right, thank you, Gary. Tonight, police are still asking for your help finding a missing man last seen near St. Mary's Hospital off of Clayton Road. A silver advisory has been issued for Tony Nelson, last seen on March 15th. He's 63 years old, 5'11", and weighs about 150 pounds. Mr. Nelson was last seen wearing a brown jacket and pants. Police say he was discharged from the hospital and hasn't returned home yet. If you've seen this man or you have any information, call 911 or St. Louis Police. We're continuing to follow a developing story out of St. Louis County tonight. Police identified the man killed during an attempted arrest in Fenton. 38-year-old Alexander Lannis was a former physician at Mercy Hospital. The hospital tells us his role with the institution was terminated earlier this month. The shooting happened just after 10 a.m. Friday morning. 2 officers were called to Hawkins Bend Drive to arrest Lannis on first-degree harassment charges. Police made contact with Lannis and he pulled out a gun. This caused a struggle. 1 officer was hurt, but not from gunfire. That's when both officers opened fire, killing Lannis. A Mercy Hospital spokesperson said in a statement, quote, "We were saddened to learn that the suspect involved in yesterday's shooting was a former Mercy physician. Our prayers go out to all impacted, including the family and St. Louis County Police." We will continue to update you on this story as we learn more. The investigation is still ongoing. The St. Louis job market is getting ready for a big boost after Boeing landed a $20 billion contract to build new aircraft for the Air Force. Boeing and its headquarters in St. Louis County were selected to develop the new F-47 jet, a state-of-the-art fighter aircraft. The deal is expected to create more than 400 new jobs, and it could impact around 34,000 jobs across the metro. Leaders say the move could put St. Louis on the map to be a defense tech hub.
You know, St. Louis's tradition has really been to be that military aircraft where we produce the F-15, where we produce some of the other aircraft that exist right now for our national defense. And this is a very important, I think, signal that Boeing and the people that work at Boeing are going to lead this country into the sort of next generation of fighter jets.
St. Louis did provide tax incentives to make the North County project possible.
A beef stick recall. Why the USDA is pushing to pull these snacks off Illinois shelves and asking you to throw them away. And generations of fans cheered on the Cardinals, a lot of them kids.
I think just kind of recapturing that inner child is what I'm hoping to accomplish here.
How Ballpark Village is celebrating the childhood memories of those who grew up Cards fans.
Rain should settle in here after midnight, but it's the amounts of rain that we're looking at and a minor severe weather threat. We'll discuss that and also time out the rain for the second half of Sunday so you can plan your day.
Welcome back. The FBI has issued a warning to the public to be on alert if anyone learns about planned attacks against Tesla vehicles and property. This warning comes after multiple facilities became the targets of protests in recent months. Recent vandalism against the company happened in at least 9 states, according to the FBI. That does include Missouri. Many of those protests were formed over the politics of Tesla CEO and top Trump advisor Elon Musk. Some Tesla owners are now defacing their Teslas or selling them at a loss.
I'm in the process of getting my car repaired so that I can sell it. I was getting to the point where this was being embarrassing driving this car because of Elon Musk and the things he's doing right now.
Tesla stock is now down by 50% since its peak last year. But this week, Musk promised better days ahead at a company meeting, encouraging employees to hold on to their stocks. Pope Francis is expected to be released from the hospital tomorrow. This comes a little more than a month after he arrived. Francis was admitted for bronchitis on Valentine's Day, requiring oxygen therapy, according to the Vatican. According to doctors, the Pope's condition at one point was life-threatening, but now he's expected to be okay. He's expected to greet a crowd of gatherers outside the hospital tomorrow, but will not be able to return to his usual work until he starts to feel better again.
We continue to track some rain that's going to settle in the overnight hours. Still dry right now, but the wind has picked up. We'll talk about how this rain that continues to build will affect us overnight and who should be on the lookout for severe weather.
I know how it is. You regretted buying them in the first place, and now the USDA is issuing a recall for nearly 30,000 pounds of ready-to-eat beef sticks that may be contaminated with metal. This affects packages of Chomp's Original Beef Stick Mild. The expiration date should be for February 10th, 2026. These beef sticks were shipped to retail locations in Illinois. So far, 2 people have said they found metal in the product. Anyone who bought these meat sticks are asked not to eat them. You should be throwing them away or returning them to where you bought them. The Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum is unveiling a new featured exhibit tomorrow at Ballpark Village. It's called Growing Up Cardinal. The exhibit explores the childhood experiences of 3 Cardinal fans spanning the history of 3 Cardinal stadiums. You can check out many different artifacts on this from back in the day, including promotional merch from way back, baseball cards, toys, books, and more. Museum curator Amy Barra says she hopes people will see some things they might have had when they were just a kid.
That's what I'm really wanting, is people to say, oh my gosh, I had one of those, or my dad had that, or I had that, where did it go? That kind of thing. But also just letting people have some fun with baseball again, not take it so seriously. It is a game and it's supposed to be fun. It was fun when we were kids. In the long run, I think just kind of recapturing that inner child is what I'm hoping to accomplish here.
Fans are encouraged to share their personal and favorite Cardinal Stadium memories as part of the exhibit. It will open tomorrow through February next year and is included with admission to the Cardinals Museum.
We got 75,000 happy people in one room. Don't find that very often.
Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City kicked off this weekend, one of the biggest shows of its kind in the country. Nearly 75,000 people crowded Bartle Hall, and many were there to kind of show off their collections as others line up for hours to meet celebrity guests like David Tennant, Andy Serkis, and Christina Ricci. Kansas City Comic-Con runs through tomorrow. Yeah, Andy Serkis. I think he's Gollum.
Who?
He's Andy Serkis. He was like Gollum or Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. You don't watch movies, so
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, so I couldn't tell. Christina Ricci rings a bell. Those other people, I have no idea who they are. I bet you could put a lineup. I mean, unbelievable.
You're not going to Comic-Con. Is that what you're saying?
I did not attend.
No Kansas City?
I did not attend. I've been to Bartle Hall. I've not seen that one there, big dog.
Hey,
so I know where everything is. I know where all that stuff is in Kansas City. But anyway, yeah, we're here. We've been marked safe from Planet Comic-Con here as we're staying inside from the wind. Now the wind is coming back, but we've got some much needed rain on the way for us the next 24 hours. But for now, it's still dry out there, and we talked about this. 56, like I said, the dew point's at 26. The closer this number is to this number, the closer we are to being saturated. We're not there yet, so anything that's fallen is evaporating. So eventually that'll see that number go up a little bit. We got to 61 today. It was pretty nice. We've still only got about 3/4 of an inch of rain this month in St. Louis. There are some spots, with this being the 13th driest March so far, there are some spots that we could see double that. So that's going to be a nice thing as you look at some of the drought that's kind of settled in for a lot of us. Here's where this piece of energy is that continues to settle in, and you'll notice where we have some development, and that's where we're going to start to pick that up over the next several hours. Like I said, and we'll continue to say, the bullseye for the severe weather threat is out of our area, and while it may nudge a couple of counties, it's only because we may see up to quarter-size hail on a very random note. I just don't think that's going to be an issue for us. But let's talk about through midnight. I think you're going to see this rain really start to fill in over the next 2 hours. So that's what I think is important as I continue to sit here and track this for you here in the Weather Impact Weather Center over the next hour or so, keeping a close eye on those storms. I don't think that those are going to be severe weather producers. Like I said, we're still pretty dry, but as we go through the overnight hours, you're going to see maybe this one right here, 4 or 5 o'clock, as we continue to push through in the morning. That may provide some, at least, pea-size hail, maybe quarter-size hail. So we'll continue this just to pay attention to this and really clearing out the drains. I think it's probably a lost cause unless you've gone out there right now with a headlamp. I did that already. You just throw the little leaf blower on, you go through, just keep that in mind and maybe clear them out tomorrow when the rain fills in. Because like I said, I think it's possible that some of us will get up to an inch of rain, if not greater in some spots. This is going to be positive. A lot of it's going to soak in and be very nice. The rest of Sunday, we clear out nicely, and the wind is pretty significant though. So I know it's not exactly what you want to hear. Wind gusts upwards of 40 miles an hour from the west. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. Temps in the low to mid 60s with a west breeze. That rain really is out of here by mid morning, and I think you're going to enjoy the next few days as we have 62, 69, 67 opening day. Still introducing a slight chance for rain. I have more on that on 5+. You can check out. I talked a little bit about that rain chance, but let's start. Does you think Corey knows any of those people?
I think he does.
Well, we got the Lord of the Rings report coming up next.
Oh,
Not sports. We change it up tonight.
Perfect.
No,
you've been studying the games. You can't not.
we got a lot of sports to talk
Yes.
about. No Lord of the Rings time tonight. We have a slew of Blues news to get to, including the arrival of one of the most anticipated players in the organization. CDSC tried to keep their clean sheet streak alive against an old friend. We've got some state titles to hand out as well. Sports is up after the break. Well, I hope you like Blues news because we have a lot of it tonight. We are tackling the past, present, and future. But first, we focus on the here and now. The Blues are bolting towards the postseason, and they were not going to let the rival Blackhawks slow them down today. Matinee game against Chicago for Jim Montgomery and company, looking for their 5th straight win. Quite a way to start the scoring. Check this out. All in the air. Kyrou to Holloway, and eventually to Robert Thomas, who buries it. Are you kidding me? What a goal. 2-1 Blues in the third. Nathan Walker lights the lamp, 3-1 note. Then for good measure, Zach Bolduc stays hot. His 14th of the season. Blues win 4-1 for their 5th in a row and open up a 3-point lead in the wild card race.
You know, like I said, the game on Thursday was very emotional, and you know, it's sometimes hard to come back and back that up, but you know, we have to do that tonight.
So that was good. We'll have more juice tomorrow. We're excited about tomorrow now.
Amidst the Blues win was a send-off for one of our all-time favorites. Hometown hero and 2019 Stanley Cup champ Pat Maroon announced his retirement today and had one last moment in St. Louis to celebrate. The Big Rig got one last scrap at Enterprise and was named the first star of the game. The crowd showed their love once more, and that won't be long until Maroon is part of that crowd.
Obviously, when I'm done here, I'm going to be a Blues fan, but I'll be coming to games just like all the other alumni. So, St. Louis kid, get the opportunity, and on a high note, get the opportunity to actually play in St. Louis at the end of the year, and it's pretty remarkable. So, I couldn't write a better script on how all this kind of transpired today.
Maroon is retiring, and this kid is just beginning. Tonight, the Blues announced that top prospect Dalibor Dvorsky is coming to the NHL. The 19-year-old was the 10th overall pick in the 2023 draft and has scored 43 points in 57 games in the AHL this season. Pavel Buchnevich is day-to-day with an illness. I asked Dvorsky during training camp just how much he dreams about his debut and winning hockey's ultimate prize.
I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time. Yeah, I've had that thoughts a lot, but you know, that's what we work for. That's what I work for, to make it reality as soon as possible. So that's why I do my best on the ice all the time.
You ever dream of lifting the Stanley Cup too?
Of course, yeah. I dream of it a lot ever since I was a little kid. So no, I believe it's going to happen with the Blues.
This 5 on Your Side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
Coming into tonight, just one team in Major League Soccer had yet to allow a goal this season, St. Louis City SC. To do that 5 games in a row would be a massive accomplishment, but they'd have to beat an old friend to do so. Olaf Melberg and company taking on former City SC coach Bradley Carnell's first place Philadelphia Union tonight on the road. 8th minute, Philly ends that STL clean sheet streak. Jan Glavinovic is in the right place at the right time. That's a header that goes right past Ben Lunt, 1-0 Union. Edward Leuven got a yellow on a questionable time-wasting call, and he goes out of the game with a red card. That's his 2nd yellow of the night. City is shorthanded and could not come back. Philly wins 1-0 to hand City its first loss of 2025.
Yeah, we were maybe 5% behind, and it showed a little bit, so they had some chances. But yeah, I think the defense was okay. It came down to one lucky moment, one corner, and that decides the game, unfortunately.
Taking flight. Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
Cardinals and Marlins at spring training. Opening day is creeping up on Thursday. Wilson Contreras is ready for the season. Crushes that one out for a 2-run shot, his 2nd of the spring. He's hitting over 400 down in Florida. Later on, Jordan Walker stings one back up the middle. That scores 2. Cardinals offense was good today. They beat the Marlins 8-2. Class 4 boys basketball state title game, Vashon against Benton. Wolverines in a close one early, but Jimmy McKinney III is connecting from deep. Pair of triples right there. Vashon pulling away, fast break. Doria McCaskill finishes it off. And not to be outdone, Dario McCaskill follows up a miss with a huge putback slam. You don't see that in high school. Vashon wins 81-45 for their 16th state championship. The Lift for Life girls won it all last year in Class 4. They went for a Class 5 title today against St. Teresa's. Amaya Manuel, that's good from deep. Zah Harris, interception. And the conversion for 2. And then Diamond Polk getting the bucket on the fast break. Lift for Life wins 63-42 for back-to-back state titles. Congrats to the Hawks, and that will do it for sports.
Wow, Corey Miller, great job. Great job, my friend. We've got Saturday Night Live coming up next. Check out 5 Plus. We've got you updated for everything you need there.